Hi there. I'm in my cabin at Pine Top, Arizona, and I wanted to talk with you about separation. Like, what do you do when you're married to a person who's chronically deceptive, chronically abusive, chronically addicted to porn, or a chronic adulterer, and he doesn't want to change? He doesn't even see his need for change. Well, sometimes the last resort is separation, and that can act as a splash of cold water, a wake-up call to someone. But sometimes you're not in a financial situation to support two households. So what do? How do you have an in-home separation? What do you do with yourself in that place? An in-home separation means that you are going to live apart, and you're also going to have to detach from your spouse emotionally. That doesn't mean you don't care about him. It doesn't mean you dismiss or disrespect or ignore him. But emotionally detaching means you let go of your expectations or requests to function as a marriage. You let go of your husband for him to do something for you, for him to respond in a certain way. You let go of your need for him to apologize or go to counseling or be respectful and loving toward you, even to repent. You come to a place where you don't need him to do those things in order for you to be okay. You don't need him to be truthful. You don't need him to love you. Now, obviously, these things are reasonable expectations in any normal, healthy relationship. But emotional separation means you're detaching in a good way because you're accepting reality without bitterness. You accept your husband isn't willing, or maybe even capable, to repair, to repent, or truly rebuild your trust. And so you choose to stop begging and banging your head against a dry spout for a few drops of love and care. Let me be clear. You're not doing this to harm your husband. Romans 13:5 says that love does not harm. Yet your actions may cause your husband some emotional pain as you detach. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing because Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. In other words, if you're intentionally trying to inflict harm on your husband or paying him back, that's not loving him. But if your detachment is for your own protection, as well as to hopefully serve as a wake-up call for him, then your actions are for him and not against him, even if they do cause him some pain. In fact, your actions may wound his ego, make him mad, make him feel entitled to berate you. And that's because destructive people hate consequences and boundaries because it forces them to face the truth, which they also hate. Proverbs 19:3 says this, people ruin their lives by their own foolishness, and then they're angry with the Lord. If your husband complains about your emotional separation, you can say something like this to him. I've always been willing to work on the serious problems in our relationship, but taking vacations or having date nights or even having sex again gets confusing to me. That implies that we have a relationship of safety and trust, that we have a relationship that's mutually respectful and loving, and it hasn't been that way for a long time. Therefore, I can interact with you at home in a respectful way, but we don't have a close relationship until you decide whether or not you want to do the work to rebuild broken trust. We're emotionally separated, even though we're still living in the same household while we raise our kids together. And I won't pretend otherwise. Now, will those words sting? Hopefully they will, like the sting of an antiseptic used to clean an infected wound. But if not, then continue guarding your heart against bitterness and the desire to retaliate, because that will also be a temptation that would be hurtful to him. But remember, you also need to guard your heart against the lies that somehow your husband or even the enemy, Satan, will throw at you. Lies that will try to put a false guilt trip on you for having those strong boundaries in place or putting consequences in place. And so for you, if you have done all you can to try to repair this relationship and your husband doesn't want to do his part of the work, you can't fix a broken relationship all by yourself. Until next time, take care and God bless.